Ashe, Ashe, Grand Rising, a grand day to you all. Once again, my fellow humans, and of course, to you all, my fellow natural, native, earthly human. Ashe, I say. Now, welcome to part 7 of this another of my thought-provoking presentations and perspectives titled Retirement Plan for People 40 to 75. Yes, it's another perspective with yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher. And just to remind you again, my gentle people, my listeners and watchers, critiques and others, that it is high time for thinking. A lot of the problems we're having today is because we're not thinking. It is high time for thinking, for reason, and for reasoning. Now, if you haven't yet watched part 1 through to part 6, I ask that you please do so before you're watching this part 7. If at all your intention is to get the most out of this series of talks on the topic retirement and retirement plan for people 40 to 75, I suggest that you please do so. If at all you want to give it a valid criticism, to critique it honestly, yes, truthfully, I suggest that you do so, because I guess you'll get more, or it will provoke you to see things a little bit differently, I'm sure. And now, I will ask that you please continue on this journey with me here in this part 7 as I ask the following questions. This journey on the topic. 1. If you have not yet retired, how do you plan to retire? Totally, these are thought-provoking questions, thought-provoking talk. In other words, how do you plan to spend the rest of your days in the pasture? And you remember, if you watch from part 1 through to this part 6, you will understand I'm talking about the pasture that is mentioned there and talked about earlier. Question 2, when do you plan to retire? Or when are you planning to retire? And the third question I would ask as we continue on this journey is it the company that you are working for? Is it the company that will retire you? Or is it life that will have to retire you? And question number 4, do you have a retirement plan? Question 5, do you have a retirement plan that will and that can take care of all your needs should you live long enough to retire? In other words, do you have enough money set aside for your retirement? Will you outlive your money, or will your money outlive you? Or that which you have set aside for your retirement? And question 6, if your answer to questions 3 and 4 is no, I do not have a retirement plan, or I do not have a retirement plan that will and that can take care of all my needs should I be fortunate or unfortunate to live long enough to retire, then my next question is this: do you have an alternative plan? AKA a plan B and possibly a plan C to all of the aforementioned retirement plans. And again, I cover a number of different forms and types of retirement plans earlier. I think it was in part 5. Now, if question 7, if your honest answer, let me go to question 7 now. If your honest answer is no, I do not have an alternative retirement plan, aka a plan B or a plan C, and maybe even a plan D, to any or to all of the aforementioned retirement plans. Or if your answer is yes, I do have a retirement plan, but the one that I have, when all things are seriously considered, I know that it is not sufficient, or I know that it will not be sufficient. I know that it cannot and that it will not be able to take care of all my financial needs now that I am retired or when I become fully retired. Or I know that should I live long enough to retire, the little savings that I have put away for rainy day is not and will not be enough to allow me to live out the rest of my days with some sort of dignity and as healthy and as pain-free as possible, and without having to be a burden to the system, a burden to society, and worst of them all, a burden to my children, my family, or my friends. For example, and as mentioned in some of my earlier presentations, when we were young, and please allow me to digress a bit here and elaborate on some very important points right now and here. Please allow me. When we were young, and if some of us might care to admit, and I say this because I have come to realize that some of my own companions, people with grand and even great grandchildren, friends and associates, people my age and some even older, etc., who are offended and very resentful of being referred to as old or as being called old. Retirees and seniors, they resent that. I see some people who I know are my age and some far much older than I am. Some that can hardly smile without feeling some form of aches and pains somewhere in their physical bodies. Yet I still see and hear them coming to tell I, the Mystic Philosopher, and with a straight face, that age is just a number, that age doesn't matter, and that if you think you are old, then you are old, and if you think that you are young, then you are young. For as a man or as a woman thinking his or her mind, so is he or she. Yet I still see some of these same people in the health food stores, the organic stores, and all over the media and the internet, buying, selling, using and promoting all kinds of products and drugs that are so-called anti-aging, meaning drugs to oppose and to fight against aging or to fight against growing old, products that pretty much stop the aging process and thus allow them to be forever young, and how to discover and maintain the fountain of youth. But the truth be told, some of these claims and these extremes, some of these claims and their extremes, if not all of those claims of halting and stopping the natural aging process, aka halting and stopping, or stopping and halting time, is what I, the Mystic Philosopher, may describe as the real and practical signs of what some called mental illness and as insanity on a rampage. From my perspective, for one to think and believe that we can stop Mother Nature from having her way, aka to think and believe that we can stop growing old is not to be thinking rationally, logically, and naturally, which by my definition, understanding, and overstanding is extreme madness, and that is to say the least. From my perspective, I like the man from La Mancha. I see them as on a quest, dreaming the impossible dream. I see them on a quest, fighting the unbeatable foe. I see them on a quest that is hopeless, a quest that is reaching for the unreachable star. Like the story in the Bible of a man called Joshua commanding the sun to stand still. I see and hear some people claiming to be putting a freeze on time equal life, thus remaining fixed like the pillar of salt in the era of their youth. Even when the evidence shows that it is the earth that revolves around the sun and not the other way around. Therefore, for anyone to attempt to stop something that is not in motion as it relates to something else is either gross ignorance or gross insanity. And just like how we all know, or most of us know, that we can't stop the earth from revolving around the sun, so too we can't stop aging. We can't stop time. They are old, and every moment we are growing older. We are old, and every moment we are even growing older. And just in case you are still in doubt, and if you yourself are not yet a victim of the anti-aging insanity, aka the never grow old insanity, just look with your natural eyes and your natural mind. And please note that I specifically say look with your natural eyes and your natural mind. And through, and not through artificial eyes, aka not through unnatural eyes or AI or virtual eyes, because those are designed by the unnatural ones to do what? To deceive us. So again, I repeat, just in case you are still in doubt, and if you yourself are not yet a victim of the anti-aging insanity, aka the never grow old insanity, just look with your natural eyes and mind at some of the richest and most wealthy people of the world today who are fighting against aging and growing old. The anti-aging activists and practitioners. And then please tell I, the Mystic Philosopher, if what you are seeing or what you see are young and beautiful and youthfulness. Just look for a moment, if you can, at some of, if not all of the world's renowned, powerful, politically and otherwise powerful and highly revered multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires, if not multi-trillionaires, that are wanna be born again, even with all their makeups, tuck-ups, fake buttocks, and fake front-ups, you name it. Or you name them. And please tell I, the Mystic Philosopher, if what you saw or what you see or what you are looking at are some naturally young and beautiful humans. And if that is what you say, if that is what you say to me, that you are seeing, then I will tell. If you tell me I'm looking at these people and you tell me that you are seeing some young, beautiful, and vibrant natural humans, I will not hesitate to tell you that unless you are admitting that you are looking at them waxed and frozen in some wax museums, someplace, somewhere, then I will tell you that not only are you being deceived, But you two are insane. And please allow me to quickly clarify for those of you, my watchers and listeners, that may intentionally, maliciously, or otherwise misconstrued what I'm saying, the points that I am making, and the references that I am using. Again, please let me quickly clarify for those of you that may intentionally or otherwise misconstrue what I'm saying as an attack on mature people or on mature seniors like myself that are simply and with great effort and in some cases great sacrifices trying to do the right thing and are doing the right thing, taking care of themselves or of ourselves as best as we can and as best as we know how. For example, as we try to eat and drink right, and as the best and as best as we can, as we exercise both mentally and exercise both our mental and physical bodies, as we entertain and maintain thoughts of righteousness, as we practice righteousness, living righteously, as we practice kindness, refrain from anger, as we practice selfishness, as we practice selflessness as opposed to selfishness, as we show and practice human empathy and sympathy, human sympathy where needed and when necessary, as we be happy by practicing daily the formula for happiness. And just to inform you or remind you of what the formula for happiness is, this I cover elsewhere in other presentations before. But just to remind you or inform you, if this is the first time you are listening to the Mystic Philosopher speak, the formula for happiness goes like this. We all learn it in a nursery song. Most of us back in the day learned this in what is called a nursery rhymes or nursery songs. It said the time to be happy is now. And the place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy, that's the formula now. The way to be happy is to make others happy and have a little heaven down here. All this and more as we take kindly the counsel of the years and gratefully surrender the things of youth, aka take a bow and bow out. So, happiness. So here again, people who you see making other people's life and living hell, misery, causing other people unnecessarily, causing other people pain and suffering. This I cover elsewhere, but just to remind you, my people, are not healthy people. They are insane people. They are mad people. They are sick people. They're missing out on life. They are not living. Because they are miserable and haunted inside because of their evil, they bring on the same thing on other people. That's why, yeah. Because again, the way to be happy is to what? Make other people happy. So if you are not trying to make somebody else happy today, you won't be happy. Be it your spouse, your neighbor, your friends, or whoever you come in contact with. The way to be happy is to what? Make others happy. In fact, let me be transparent in my last quote here. Gracefully surrender the things of you. Let me be transparent. Should you think that I am that smart to have originated those words that I said earlier on, all this and more as we take, all that I've mentioned, as we take kindly the counsels of the years and gracefully surrender the things of youth. And as we do that, we take a bow and bow out. So let me again be transparent. I don't want you to think that I am that smart to have originated those wise sayings or those wise quotes. That it was an indirect quote. What I've just said was an indirect quote from my favorite prose poem called Desiderata by Max Ehrmann. So here is a direct quote for you. Take kindly, and if you don't have a copy of Desiderata, Please go read it. Get a copy and read it. Very, very powerful. It said, take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Unquote. And again, stay tuned. I will be doing another interpretation of Desiderat. I did it before, but I'm asked to do it again, and we'll be doing it soon. Stay tuned. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. And quite regrettable, then unquote, and quite regrettable, a lot of the aforementioned people are trapped in their so-called anti-aging quest, trying to roll back time. An anti-aging quest, trying to find the so-called fountain of youth. Consequently, like spiritual entities, I'm getting a little metaphysical here now, and esoteric. Consequently, like spiritual entities, some may say ghost, example ghost, that are trapped between universes. Or, if you prefer, for those of you that in the know will understand what I'm talking about, that are trapped between densities, or planes, or domains, and dimensions, etc. Thus, they, meaning those trapped spiritual entities, are haunted and are made miserable by their imprisonment, aka they're hellbound. So too are they, meaning those are these anti-aging activists, trapped in their impossible dream and quest for the unreachable star. But we who are awakened and enlightened to these facts and realities know, understand, and understand that we come to go, and thus we must live and let others live, or live and let live. And so, as mentioned in some of my earlier presentations, when we were young, aka when we were youthful, full of youth, aka when we were full or filled with energy, power, and strength, like that of a horse or that of a bull, in almost all, if not all, areas of our lives, we thought, or we felt and believed and rather believe and behave as if we were invincible in our youth. We felt as if we were going to be that way forever. Meaning, we felt as if we were going to be strong and invincible forever. Old age, retirement, ill health or illness, weakness, misfortunes or disappointments, and all that comes with them. Wordify this thing from our minds. We were not even thinking that our parents, grandparents, and the elders before us, and those with whom we came in contact, were once young, healthy, and vigorous as we were then. And the same is true for most, if not all, our children and grandchildren and young people today. But now we know that they, meaning our parents and elders, were more than right when we used to hear them say, quote, like, once a man, twice a child, unquote. Meaning, for those of you who don't understand and understand, meaning a man or a woman is born a baby or an infant or a child, then he or she grows up and into adulthood, and if he or she is fortunate enough, or depending on your individual point of view, if he or she is misfortunate enough, then consequently he or she enters into what? Old age. And from old age, he or she begins to do what? Deteriorate. Meaning fall apart or revert back to the status of a baby or the infant or a child. Once again, this is where, if we should be fortunate or misfortunate enough to live or to survive long enough, then we will become totally dependent on others to do almost everything for us. We will be dependent on others to feed us, to lead us, to take care of us, even to clean or wipe us, or wipe our asses, if you will. By then, meaning middle age, old age and beyond, the evidence shows that most, if not all, of our parents or our guardians that took care of us when we were babies or when we were children are no more. They are long dead and gone. And the few that may be alive today are like infants again. And they can't help themselves, let alone help us as they once did. And also the evidence is today showing that some of, if not most of, our own children, grandchildren, and young people in general are not as tolerant. They are not as kind, as caring, as empathetic, as sympathetic, or even respectful to us old folks, aka old people, as some of us were brought up and taught to be to our parents and elders back then. At the most, what some of them may do, if we continue to hang around the planet for too long, and thereby becoming a bother to them, a burden and hindrance, an embarrassment and a liability, etc., to them, is to find what is called a nursing home and permanently retire us there. Now, for your information and just to remind you, my listeners, a nursing home is also known as a care home facility, a skilled nursing facility, SNF, or a long-term care facility, an infirmary, and some is also known as the poorhouse, etc. This is a place that offers residential care for other people, or rather for older people, for senior citizens, or for disabled people. This is also a place in which we are placed or will be placed, if not permanently abandoned by them. By them who? Meaning our children, our spouse, our community, the system, etc. Once we become a liability and we hang around too long, so that we may patiently wait. We will be placed there so that we may patiently wait. What do they call us? Patient. Patiently wait for our departure, aka for the death flight. I call it the departure lounge. Once you are placed there, I call it the departure lounge. You have to look where you're going, not where you're coming from now. And why, you may ask, why do I call it the departure lounge? It is because the only thing we can do from there, meaning the nursing home, is to hopefully catch our flight upon its arrival. Sometimes a problem if we ever miss that flight. Upon its arrival out of here, and hopefully it is a flight to glory. Where that flight is going, let's hope it is a flight to glory and not a flight to hell, whatever, or wherever, however you may believe or conceive the thing called hell to be. And again, the only thing that can help us and will help us minimize our suffering, our pain, etc., as we patiently wait in a nursing home, etc., for our departure out of here, is how well we planned, or how well we have planned for that almost sure eventuality. If we live long enough in time and we hang around too long, we're gonna end up like some of us. And that is by having a strategic and effective retirement plan, and one that contain will provide enough money, which is the answer to all things on this planet. Fortunately or unfortunately so, but it is so. Again, my dear people, I just noticed that I have run out of time, I run out of time allotted for this segment, and thus I will have to end this part 7 right here. So I ask that you please join me in part 8 for the continuation of retirement plan for people 40 to 75, another perspective, the Mystic Philosopher. And where and when I will continue right where I am leaving off here by asking this question. Are our children, our spouse, or members of our families, close relatives abandon us and refuse? Let me repeat that. Where and when I will continue right where I am leaving off here by asking this question. Are our children, our spouse, or members of our families, our close relatives, abandon us and refuse to take care of us when we are old, and especially if or when we are determined by them to be good for nothing, or to be or for little value. So stay tuned. That's a very interesting point. I will be not sure how well I face it here, but we'll be talking about if it is, what will happen, or if they're really responsible for us. I think that is a very interesting question. And the question and the answers should be very interesting as well. So hope I see you there. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that. In the meantime and between time, my people, in your becoming, I will that you be more and more and much, much more, not less, aka bless. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.